Saturday, 1st of March 2014, 7:05 a.m. It was a mild day for that time of year, but if the weather forecast was to be believed, a severe cold snap was on the way. Their early morning walk brought them into the field next to the house. The upper portion was spongy underfoot, while the lower portion had succumbed to the river. Truman returned with the ball in his mouth. His tail wagged as he waited for her to throw it, which she did. The night before, Cathy had a text message from the sergeant. The checkpoints and house-to-house inquiries up to then had yielded nothing. Cathy had arrived down from Dublin exhausted. Her last case had been difficult. A mother battered to death by her only daughter, high on cocaine at the time. A father blaming himself for ignoring her drug addiction. Typical guilt from a parent afraid to rock the boat. Something Cathy could understand. The last morning on the case she had fainted. When she admitted to her doctor she wasn't sleeping, he suggested sedatives. She'd been prescribed them after her marriage breakup, but had found it hard to wean herself off them. Due a pile of holidays, she reckoned a couple of weeks down here, with the help of a good tonic, would be more beneficial than any sedatives. It felt good to breathe in fresh air, be close to nature, and miles away from the bureau and all its bureaucracy. When Truman returned, she pocketed the ball and leashed him before leading him out onto the road. She imagined Ned Cunningham standing in the porch and falling after being stabbed forcefully in the leg. Why so forcefully? Why hadn't he been dragged into the living room, tied up and beaten? That was usually what happened in such attacks. And what were they searching for that led them to rip the armchair cushions apart and dislodge turf in the shed? Whatever it was, she wondered if they had found it. She quickened her step along the road. Approaching the junction, she decided to walk through the village, something she seldom did. Halfway up the street, she pulled her cap down tight over her ears at the sight of the plain-clothed sergeant across the street, heading for the station. She had seen him a couple of times before he arrived at her door yesterday. A good-looking young man in a rough, imperfect kind of way, with dark, sombre eyes. From what she'd been told by her neighbour Molly, the villagers liked him. What mystified Cathy was why he had been posted to the village in the first place. She'd found him astute in the way he presented facts without adding unnecessary jargon. And no matter how charming the village was, he belonged in a larger town. On reaching the bridge, she had the urge to head across, but knew for Truman the confinement of the narrow path was unsettling. She turned to track back the way she came. If her good opinion of the sergeant was unfounded, if he couldn't pull his weight or had difficulty handling the workload, she'd have no qualms dropping him from the case. Even if she had wanted to, there was no way she could have refused to help. This was where she had spent her holidays growing up, the place her father refused to leave when he fell ill, wanting only those he could depend on to look after him. And they did. Payback time.